Steve Young has been watching this team, and he got a little frustrated because, after they beat Seattle to go to 3-3, they were talking like, hey, we're in first place in the NFC West. And now they're not. And Steve didn't like the whole changing goalposts. Like, no, this is a Super Bowl or bust season. You're not going to move the goalpost halfway through and say, we're going to win the division and see what happens. He also had a lot to say about the offense. He essentially said it was easy last year. They dominated. All they had to do was run their scheme, run their plays. Nothing. Didn't have to go off script very much, and they kicked butt. And now they're not that much better than the rest of the league. Everyone studied them, and they got to innovate was the word he used. They got to do something different. Brock has to be better. Everyone has to be better, and they have to innovate. Well, someone's in charge of that. What do you think of Steve's, I'm not going to say rant. He called it a soliloquy. I'm going to call it a soliloquy.
Yeah, he did. I believe the exact words he uses that they can't use retail offense, right? They can't go retail. And what he explained about that is that it's just the linear path of offensive football. We see the play, we put the play in, the play is ran, it's successful, then we move on to the next play. That's not realistic football. And really, that's almost something that's been afforded to us due to the embarrassment of riches that we have on the offensive side of the ball, right? And then to top it all off with the offensive player of the year, you could say one would say that Kyle got a little lazy. It's easy to just call in plays and just see him work. I mean, one of the greatest things that we did last year is that we were remarkable, almost historic on first and second down, right? Almost getting first downs, clipping at +6 yards, first and second down the entire season with almost little to no injuries, major injuries to anybody on offense. I mean, that's not the average life of an NFL football team, right? You're going to have to be innovative. You're going to have to create. And also the way the creative process starts is that everybody's hands have to be in the pot. I think Kyle needs to start realizing that you can't just bark plays at Brock, right? Because we're smart enough now. We've seen this movie so many times that fans are not just going to lay everything at Brock's feet once they see him degressing, right? They need to show more. And that's what I feel like Steve Young is trying to point to, is that they need to get out of this streamlined process because, quite frankly, they can't afford it anymore.
Yeah, and I think something he said, I keep going back to the word innovate. They need to innovate. And I feel like what the Niners have been doing this year mentally and Kyle schematically is well, yeah, we're struggling a little bit. Red zone's a bit of an issue. Brock's numbers are down, but Christian's out. Okay? What do you expect? He's the offensive player of the year. There's going to be an impact if Christian's out, but he's coming back. Just wait for it. I'm not sure when, but he's coming back. He could be back after the bye week. It feels like the Niners are resisting, innovating, changing because Christian's coming back and he's going to save everything and he'll be fine. Maybe, but what's plan B?
Yeah, I agree with that. They're rolling. Something that Steve Young did that I loved is he started off the entire conversation with, if we are leading the NFC West, that is not the goal here, right? Like if this is all about saving face just to win the division, then sit back, stand pat. We'll find a way to get it done. The Rams aren't world beaters. The Cardinals are who they are, and Seattle will always have a rough game with them. If this is about
nine wins, could get that done. Nine wins, exactly. Maybe could get that done.
Thank you, Grant. 9 wins could have us in the hunt. But what we're talking about is changing the entire conversation of what we are as a franchise, right? We are officially not going to win the Super Bowl, right? I think that Steve Young's conversation was leaning towards what the fans want, right? What the standard of the organization is, which is what do we have to do to start competing with the top echelon teams of the league?
Right, you're not competing with the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a team that hopes to win 9 games, go to the playoffs, and lose. That would be a great season for them. That's not what the Niners are aspiring to.
Right, and one of their biggest things is that understanding that he's one shining example of us being able to change. And I know it hurts, but he mentioned the Chiefs. He said, look, they weren't better. Like, I watched that game. This wasn't just a complete blowout, right? There were tons of opportunities for us to win this game, tons of missed opportunities.
A lot of bad football from both teams.
There was tons of bad football in that game. I think that's what hurts the most, if you're being honest about this game, is it wasn't the fact that we got the best versions of the Chiefs and we could honestly lean on the injuries of Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings not being there and Brandon Ayuk being lost for the season, and all of those.
A couple of plays. It was a third down. It was an ass kicking. All those
excuses would have been great if we would have been seeing like a really tuned up KC team, but they limped through the door. All right, Patrick Mahomes was far from perfect. You know what beat us? What beat us is the 33-yard run by Patrick Mahomes down the sideline when they found a way to get it done.
Did Travis Kelce even make the trip?
He was nowhere to be found.
Nowhere.
Right.
I mean, Kareem Hunt was nice. Kareem Hunt did a good job. Xavier Worthy, is he good? Not yet. Although he was open deep and Mahomes missed him. So, yeah, that whole outfit wasn't that great.
It wasn't. And really, it just shows that I think Steve used these words. I've used them before, but backyard football seems to be exactly what we need to be looking at coming into these games, right?
What's the Niners' best offensive play this year? I would argue it's the Brock Purdy scramble, which is not good.
Taking off, ingenuity, like breaking script, understanding that, all right, Kyle's got my ass in the ringer right now. I'm taking off. I've said it many times during the live watch party where we'll get runs and then all of a sudden Kyle can't help himself. We got to get down the field. We got to catch him while we're sleeping.
But Steve said himself, like, this is not the best part of Brock's game. It's something he does well enough, but he's not Steve Young. He's someone who wants to be getting rid of the ball really quick. And it doesn't seem like, to go back to the man zone thing, that there's someone getting open super fast. It wasn't Ayuk. I don't think it's Jennings either. Jennings can make contested catches. Clearly, when McCaffrey comes back, Purdy's numbers against man coverage will go up. But when is McCaffrey coming back? He's not going to be here forever. Kind of reminds me of, remember when we were younger and Kurt Warner was incredibly great when he had Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk
and Naz Hakeem, those boys.
Yeah, and then Marshall Faulk faded, and then he got replaced by Mark Bulger. All of a sudden, Kurt Warner was like a backup, and he went to the Giants, and he got benched for Eli Manning, and it took him a while to get a foothold back in Arizona later on. I wonder, is Brock a little bit like that, like a great quarterback when you have all the pieces, but when you start taking a piece away here and there, all of a sudden, there's problems.
Yeah, Kyle he calls plays like the friend who wants something to say all the time but doesn't have anything to say. It's just like, it's like if there's a joke. So the other day I was about to say, it's like, and the whole room's looking at him like, okay, Kyle, so what do you have to say?
You have to chime in. You had to chime in every time, right?
You had to chime in, right? It's like when the run game's working, Kyle has to chime in and say, oh, no, but let's get an explosive in. Let's go 5 wide. Let's try to hurt. It's almost, I feel like he doesn't like the moment. Like the anxiety makes him want to say, we have to score as fast as possible. We got a positive play on a run game. Let's run a play action pass right now and get him reeling. Let's just get this over with. And it's like, Kyle, that's not the team you have anymore. You can't brute force it anymore, brother. You got to figure out how they play.